Hello and welcome. It is the end of the 26th day of November 2017. Hashtag crypto trading video. My name is Derek. Everything you do within your own risk and your own reward. All right, Bitcoin chart. I'm amazed that this pattern of this market is behaving as it is. On the 16th day of November, price action had its fourth consecutive update in a row after retracing. And a gain of, at the time, well, moved from like 5,400 up to about 8,000. So that's a gain of about 2,500, 40 or so percent. Yeah, how you doing kind of deal. But since that point, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 days of holding and staying above a key level. It's one of the things that you look for when markets have these rallies to validate them, is for these types of pointers. Also, if you're looking for something to break out, that's also what you're looking for to successfully do such. So when it breaks this resistance, it's doing such by breaking a upward trend line of magnificent proportions. After it broke one earlier this year, it is just an amazing, amazing situation. Let's take a look at this on a 3-day time frame. Well, it doesn't look much different, so let's take a look at a weekly chart. Okay. What does this show to us just for the year? This was the beautiful rate of ascent that was going on from the bottom in 2015 all the way through until the earlier part of 2017. 2.5 years, or about 125 periods on the weekly time frame of resisting this level. It did so in March of 2015. Pulled back. It did so in November of 2015. Pulled back and also went sideways for an extended period of time. And when it goes sideways like this, the trend lines are always going to go further and further away. Has to happen. And then after going sideways in the summer of 2016, when the summer begun rather, it hit the trend line and retraced down and sideways again, then grinding its way higher, but a nice sharp move back to this trend line at the end of 2016, start of this year, pulling back quickly again, February and start of March, end of February, coming to this trend line, pulling back. Then to start April, it didn't resist this line, it kept going. It broke the resistance at around 1,500 and price action kept going and going to 3,000. Now this trend line, starting from the January highs, hit again that move that I was talking about, the move to 3,000, pull back to the 18 lows, resisting again in August, pull back 18 of lows, resisting again earlier this month, pull back to the 18 of highs, bigger difference there. And now breaking this resistance, ending the month of November. It's a wild, wild situation. Now, generally speaking, I'm usually always going to think when it breaks an upward resistance trend line of good proportions, and because both of the ones showing on this screen are of great proportions with good support levels, that it makes it strong for the ideal outcome because of how big this level is, or whatever. I don't know why the reason, it just does. So it's common to have big size candles. Now look at the size of this one and this one, as well as the continuation 4 back in here. And this is even continuation 4 in here as well. And it's actually doing continuation 3rd right now. Continuation means you have a decent sized move. It keeps going higher with good momentum and not much getting in its way. So from this low to this high, it was about 4 periods. Now the individual big single period was a move from about under 19. I got the numbers on top. Low of 1923 and a close of 2750. So that's a difference of about 850 points. That's about well over 40% in just one period, 1 week. Now, a 40% week, we're talking about $13,000 plus Bitcoin. But even just for a one long full run from a low to a high, earlier this year it broke, earlier in 2016, it broke 400 and change up to about 700 and change, almost double. Starting from this low, almost double would be at about, well, 5,800, not far away, 11,600. This market went from, or this time back in here, about 900 to about 3,000. That's about triple. Tripling in here, we're talking about 16,000, 17,000. Now, it's mathematically possible for there to be one green candle higher, and we're talking about 15, 16, 17,000. I would expecting big time if such a case to occur, that there would be a very large pullback. And I think it's even a safe, calculated guess that in time, and in time is defined as the next 3 to 6 months, that price action will break this support line, but probably after there's further gains starting pretty much now, and then establish a rate of ascent that is around maybe a little greater than this one, but lower than the rate of ascent that we've been going through for pretty much the the last half of this year, seeing prices double like a few times over, a couple times over rather. That's what I would think to be the case, but this is a wild, wild situation, to say the least. As far as this on a more shorter term time frame, we're going to look at this on a 400-minute chart. 5-day moving average, each one of these periods representing around 1/3 of a day. But we can see within the levels of resistance, you pull back decent. Come back. The pullback now stays within this 18 average. It has been holding very well ever since. The only time it even attempted to go below it back in here, well, it's been starting an upward move ever since. Because after resisting this trend line for many periods, barely pulling back, correcting through time, therefore the correction through time meant it only barely went lower than this trend line, but it broke it on this particular period. Since then, every candle has been up, or let's just see, as this one closed at 92, 94. Yeah, every period has been up since the break of this trend. So it's in a very, very interesting situation. If I was a betting man, and I guess I am, and I'm not going to bet this, but I would think there's a good chance that it's going to reach and have a target, at least on this exchange, at 10,000 by the time I wake up in the morning. Or another 9 or 10 hours from now. That is, I think, a decent sized chance to occur. I'm going to end this video talking about, well, altcoins. I'm only going to bring up one. It's the first one I ever got into. It's not popular. It's darn near cheap compared to where it used to be, and that is code BELA, that of Bella. And we'll use the 400-minute time frame for such. I love the strategy. And placing in buy orders cheap, getting them when they come in, and then putting sell orders in higher and being happy when they sell. For I sold 1/4 of the Bella that I owned, purchased at pretty much the lower levels in here, sold a quarter at about 1,500. I haven't bought them back yet. I could, but it's all mathematics for me. If I realize that I'm buying around 1,100, and I am, a little over it, and I sold just a few satoshis or lower than 1500, probably around 1495, 97, somewhere ballpark area. It's all the same. That's a difference of almost 400 basis points on the 11. That's like 30%, 40%. So I can very easily buy back a noticeable amount higher than I sold, thus getting extra tokens for free, not for free, but for successful, profitable trade, as well as a few Bitcoin, because I'm going to be buying it back for a lower amount of Bitcoin than I sold it for. And I'm going to be buying more Bellas in this case than I sold. That's my strategy. That's what I do. If I happen to buy here, then I'll place a sell order back in this area here. Now, if this market were to just keep on going from 1100 to 1500 for the next 6 months, and that's all it did, ka-ching, I'll just keep on buying low, selling high that way. But I don't care what the market does as long as it does and it moves, and it will. So if it keeps going lower, then I'll put another buy order in. And with all of the codes that I play, strategically do so, thinking in advance how far down the rabbit hole, how far can I chase this thing, realizing that, okay, let's say, okay, I'll put a buy order in at 11, maybe around 700 or 600, maybe at 300, then maybe at 100, and then at 20, and I'll give up. And it doesn't cost much to buy them at 100 or 20 or 500 Satoshi, and you can mathematically plan what the spending would be. But the fact is, I sold 1/4 of this position in here. I got lots more that could possibly be sold back up top. This market has been in a horrific downtrend priced in Bitcoin. If it's going to zero, it'll keep doing what it's doing. But there's also a decent chance if this is going to nothing, it'll have a decent rally before it does. Maybe whether it's bottoming now or wherever, go up 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times and then go to nothing. If this goes up 6 times where we stand now, we're looking at about 7,000, 8,000. And just going to this level of resistance would basically make it to this level in here. Definitely a possibility. And if this is for real and this is good, then well, with any of these codes that you see down a lot, if it's down 10, 15, 20 times and it goes back to where it came from, it can go up 10, 15, 20 times, which gives you reward potential on your trade at extreme proportions. If you're able to manufacture and manifest a trade that can make a 10 times return, then technically, if you were to follow up with 5 or 6 plays of equal risk value that go to nothing, you'd still be profiting. And that's just not going to happen, of course. But it's always good to be aware and ready for the situations of the worst case scenarios and such. Okay, I'm going to conclude the video. So thank you for tuning in and have yourself a magnificent day. Bye-bye.